See, the whole time I was locked up, all I could think about was the day I could get out and ride. I rode with a death wish. I told everyone that it would be on this bike that I die. It was on the 4-year anniversary of my dad's death that I entered a curve at over 90 miles per hour and lost control. I grew up in a broken home where normalcy wasn't an option. See, my dad was an alcoholic and violent. As a child, I woke up in the middle of the night more times than I could count to the screams of my mother, the sound of things breaking as she begged for my dad to stop. I remember at age 6 being woken up in the wee hours in the morning and hid in a closet with my siblings, as my dad was out in the front yard with a shotgun. It didn't matter how much I feared him. It didn't matter how much it hurt. I still looked up to my dad, and I loved him. And then came the point in my life when he walked out. It left a hole in my heart that I tried everything to fill. See, when my dad walked out of my life, I truly felt that there was something wrong with me. Why would he leave when I needed him most? My mom, she tried her best to raise us 5 kids alone, but I was a handful, and there was no discipline in our lives. See, I was 14 years old when I made the decision that I wanted to become a career criminal, that I was going to live life my way, by my rules. I had a friend, he lived a couple houses down, and him and I, we'd sit around and make these plans of robbing this and robbing that. See, the end game? We eventually wanted to rob banks. And it's crazy to think about that now. How at such a young age, I made a decision that would alter the course of my life for the next 20 years and take me down a path that I could never have imagined. Days before my 19th birthday, I burglarized a home for over $72,000 in cash. 5 days later, my first son was born, and I thought I was on top of the world. Here I was, a 19-year-old kid with a fistful of money. I thought I had it made. But that money, I burnt through in the matter of months. And when it did, I had no clue what to do. See, I went from the top to the bottom in the blink of an eye and fell into a deep, dark hole that I had no clue how to get out of. Months later, I was introduced to meth. And from the first hit, the hooks, they were set deep. I was instantly consumed by the world's most powerful drug, an equal opportunity destroyer. A few years later, that crime, the one I thought I had gotten away with, they finally had enough to charge and convict me of felony burglary and theft. I was in prison by age 22. For the next 8 years, my life was out of control. It didn't matter what I did, I couldn't get ahead. I was constantly in and out of jail. I was stuck in a revolving door of incarceration and drug use. And as time went on, the Department of Corrections, they finally had enough. My probation was revoked and I was sentenced to 15 years. Within the first few weeks, my dad died. I never got a chance to tell my dad how much I loved him. I never got a chance to tell him how much I missed him. It was 10 months later when my mom died. She was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and she went fast. I still remember the last time I spoke to my mother. I should have stayed on the phone longer. At that time, she couldn't even speak. So as my sister held the phone to her ear, I told my mom how much I loved her. I told my mom how sorry I was that I disappointed her. And I told my mom that I had no clue what I'd do without her. But that was a lie, because I knew exactly what I was going to do without her. I knew I was going to go right back to the life that I knew. Before I was released, I told the guys before I even left that I'd see them again, that I'll be back. See, I had no plans to change the way I lived my life. By that point, I figured I had only two options, death or prison, and I didn't care about either. When I was released, I went right back to what I knew, and I went harder than ever. See, the whole time I was locked up, all I could think about was the day I could get out and ride. And when that day came, I rode. I rode with a death wish. I told everyone that it would be on this bike that I die. I'd reached a new rock bottom. That's the thing about addiction. You hit rock bottom, but it gets worse. I was at an all-time low in my life. I had warrants for my arrest, and I truly wanted help. And as I sat there in the Barron County Jail, I started attending programs because I truly wanted a change in my life. And there's one that I'll never forget. It was called Reformers Unanimous. It was a 12-step, faith-based program. Volunteers would come in from a local church, and they had these memory books to work through verses, and I just fell in love with them. And I was blessed with the opportunity to go to treatment. The moment I got to treatment, I said, thanks God, I'll take it from here. And I went right back to the games that I played. See, that's the thing about my life. I treated everything like it was a game. And I was sent to a halfway house that I did not want to be at. So as always, I did what I did. I ended up getting kicked out. And I went right back to jail. See, from 2003 to 2018, I had been to jail or prison every single year but one. And not just for a couple days or a couple weeks. It was for months, half a year, and years on end. And as I sat there in that jail cell, I said, Lord, just give me one more chance. I was released shortly before Memorial Day 2018. And I was using the next day. As I stood there looking at myself in the mirror, I shook my head. I said, God, I need you. There seriously had to be something wrong with me. Because here I am, desperately wanting to get rid of that life, to get out of it. And I was right back to it. And I remembered about this church. I walked into those church doors after not being in a church for over 6 years. I didn't stay through that service. I stayed right after the worship and left. And all I remember of that night was the song Reckless Love, and how the worship leader spoke of Jesus and how he left the 99 to find the one. And 4 days later, he found me. It was on the 4-year anniversary of my dad's death that I entered a curve at over 90 miles per hour and lost control. 90 miles per hour, no helmet, and I was still alive. I knew right then and there how. It was by God and God's grace alone that I was breathing. While I was in the hospital, the Lord spoke to me through His Word. And He said, follow me. Follow me and I'll give you everything you need. It was from that point on that I completely surrendered my life to the King of Kings, Jesus Christ. As He says in John chapter 10, verse 27, my sheep hear my voice and I know them and they follow me. It was the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. I lived most of my life completely wrong. And I had to learn how to do everything new. All I knew is that I had to follow Him, follow Jesus. And He's made me completely new. Step by step, piece by piece, He put my life back together. A life that I never thought was possible.